the unraveling truth. The morning light filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their penthouse overlooking San Francisco Bay, casting golden streaks across Victoria Chen's swollen belly. At 8 months pregnant, every movement required careful consideration, every breath a conscious effort. She sat perched on the edge of their Italian leather sofa, watching her husband Marcus pack his designer luggage with the same methodical precision he applied to his business dealings. "The Tokyo meetings are crucial," Marcus said, without looking up, his voice carrying that familiar tone of controlled authority that had first attracted her 5 years ago. "The Japanese investors are finally ready to commit to the expansion. This could triple our market share in Asia." Victoria nodded absently, one hand resting on her belly where baby Benjamin kicked restlessly. Something felt wrong, though. She couldn't pinpoint exactly what. Perhaps it was the way Marcus avoided her eyes when he spoke about the trip, or how he'd been unusually attentive the past week, bringing her favorite flowers and expensive chocolates as if trying to compensate for something. "How long will you be gone?" she asked, watching him fold a tropical weight shirt that seemed oddly inappropriate for Tokyo's October weather. 5 days, maybe 6. You know how these negotiations drag on? He finally met her gaze, his smile perfectly calibrated. "Don't worry, I'll be back well before Benjamin decides to make his appearance." After Marcus left in his black Tesla, Victoria tried to settle into her usual routine of working from home, managing the charitable foundation she'd established. But the uneasiness persisted, gnawing at her like a persistent headache. When her sister Nina called around noon, Victoria found herself confessing her concerns. "He's been different lately," Victoria said, cradling the phone against her shoulder while massaging her aching lower back. "More distant, but also more guilty, if that makes sense." Nina Rodriguez had built her career as an investigative journalist by trusting her instincts about inconsistencies. "Want me to do a little digging, just to put your mind at ease?" "Don't want to be that wife," Victoria protested, even as part of her desperately wanted answers. "You're not being paranoid if your gut is telling you something's wrong. Besides, I'm bored between assignments." Within 2 hours, Nina called back, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Vic, honey, you need to sit down." Victoria's heart began racing as Nina explained what she'd discovered. Marcus's private jet had filed a flight plan not to Tokyo, but to the Maldives. His credit card showed charges at the Four Seasons Resort Maldives. Not business expenses, but luxury spa treatments, couples massages, and romantic dinners for 2. "There's more," Nina continued grimly. "Sophia Blake, his personal trainer? Her Instagram went private yesterday, but not before I grabbed some screenshots. She posted a story from an airplane yesterday morning with the caption, 'Paradise Calling.'" Victoria felt the room spinning. Sophia Blake, the blonde 26-year-old fitness instructor who came to their home 3 times a week, who always stayed for coffee afterward, who complimented Victoria on her pregnancy glow while her eyes lingered on Marcus, as if summoned by her emotional distress. Victoria felt the first contraction grip her abdomen like an iron fist. She gasped, dropping the phone. "Victoria? Vic, are you there?" "Nina," Victoria whispered, her voice shaky. "I think the baby's coming." The second contraction hit before Nina could respond, stronger than the first, radiating from her lower back, around to her belly with breathtaking intensity. Through the haze of physical pain, one thought crystallized with perfect clarity. She was about to give birth to their son, while Marcus sipped champagne on a private beach with another woman. "Call Dr. Foster?" Victoria managed between ragged breaths. "Tell her we're coming in, Nina. Don't call Marcus." Not yet. As another wave of pain washed over her, Victoria realized this moment would divide her life into before and after. Before, she was the trusting wife, the woman who made excuses and ignored red flags. After this, she would be something different entirely. A mother who would protect her child from the kind of man who could betray his pregnant wife without a second thought. The betrayal hurt worse than the contractions. But it also sparked something fierce and protective within her. Benjamin deserved better than a father who chose paradise with a mistress over being present for his birth. Justice would have to wait. But it would come. Labor of lies. The labor and delivery ward at UCSF Medical Center buzzed with quiet efficiency, but Victoria felt isolated in her private room, surrounded by beeping monitors and the antiseptic smell of hospital disinfectant. The contractions came in relentless waves now, each one stronger than the last. While Nina sat beside her bed, like a guardian angel with a smartphone, documenting everything that would later become evidence. "Breathe through it, sweetheart, doctor," Amanda Foster coached, her gentle voice cutting through Victoria's haze of pain. The obstetrician had rushed in from her own daughter's soccer game, still wearing sneakers beneath her scrubs. "Benjamin's in a hurry to meet you?" Victoria gripped the bed rails as another contraction peaked, her knuckles white with effort. Through gritted teeth, she managed to ask, "Any word from Marcus?" Nina's jaw tightened as she glanced at her phone. "I left 3 voicemails, sent 6 texts. Nothing." She paused, then added with bitter satisfaction, "But Sophia's been busy updating her Instagram." Even through the fog of labor, Victoria caught the dangerous edge in her sister's voice. "What do you mean?" She posted a video 20 minutes ago. Sunset cocktails on a private beach. Nina's fingers flew across her phone screen. Hashtagged blessed and living my best life. The location tag says, "For Seasons Maldives." Dr. Foster looked between the sisters, clearly sensing the undercurrent of drama, but maintaining professional focus. "Victoria, you're dilated to 8 centimeters. We need to concentrate on bringing this baby safely into the world." But Victoria's mind reeled between physical agony and emotional devastation. While she labored to bring their son into existence, Marcus was toasting another woman. Under tropical stars, the betrayal felt like a physical wound, competing with the contractions for her attention. Nina leaned closer, lowering her voice. "I've been taking screenshots of everything. Timestamps, locations, credit card records I accessed through your joint account. We'll need all of this." "For what?" Victoria gasped between breaths. "For when you're ready to fight back?" The next few hours blurred together in a symphony of pain, medical interventions, and Nina's quiet fury. Dr. Foster monitored Benjamin's heartbeat while Nina monitored Marcus's digital footprint. At 11:47 p.m., as Victoria pushed with everything, she had left. Sophia Blake posted another video, this time of room service champagne being delivered to a beachfront villa. 2 glasses visible in the frame. "He's crowning," Dr. Foster announced with excitement. "One more big push, Victoria?" Victoria summoned strength she didn't know she possessed, channeling her rage and heartbreak into the monumental effort of bringing life into the world. With a final, primal scream, she pushed her son into existence. "It's a boy," Dr. Foster cried as Benjamin's first wail filled the room. "He's perfect, Victoria. Absolutely perfect." As the doctor placed Benjamin on Victoria's chest, sticky and red, and utterly beautiful, Nina wiped tears from her eyes with one hand while typing with the other. She was calling Marcus again, knowing he wouldn't answer, but creating a record of his absence during this sacred moment. "Hello, Marcus," Nina said to his voicemail, her voice steady despite her tears. "Your son was born at 11:52 p.m. Pacific time. He weighs 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and he's absolutely beautiful. Victoria did this alone while you were." "Well, we both know where you were. Benjamin deserves better than you." Victoria cradled her newborn son, marveling at his tiny fists and perfect features. In the golden glow of the hospital room lights, she made a silent promise. Benjamin would never wonder if he was loved, never question his worth, never accept. "Betrayal is normal? Have you chosen a middle name yet?" Dr. Foster asked while completing her paperwork. Victoria looked at her sister, who had been a rock through everything. "Benjamin Rodriguez Chen," she said firmly. "After his Aunt Hool, teach him that family shows up when it matters." Nina squeezed her hand, then held up her phone. "I've got 17 pieces of evidence documenting Marcus's whereabouts and activities during your labor. Photos, videos, financial records, and a complete timeline. If you're ready to use them, we'll have everything we need." Outside, dawn was breaking over San Francisco. Marcus was probably waking up in paradise, maybe ordering breakfast in bed for 2, completely oblivious that his life had just changed forever. He had gained a son and lost a wife in the same moment, though he didn't know it yet. Victoria pressed a gentle kiss to Benjamin's forehead. "Welcome to the world, baby boy. Mommy's going to make sure you never have to apologize for someone else's character." The war hadn't begun yet, but the battle lines were drawn. Victoria Chen was no longer fighting alone. The sisters wore 3 days after Benjamin's birth. While Victoria rested in the hospital recovering from an emergency cesarean section, Nina Rodriguez transformed into a woman on a mission. She had taken temporary leave from the San Francisco Chronicle, telling her editor she had a family emergency that required her full attention. What she didn't mention was that this emergency involved systematically dismantling her brother-in-law's life. Nina's first stop was the gleaming downtown office of Catherine Wu, a divorce attorney whose reputation for ruthless efficiency preceded her. Catherine's corner office overlooked the financial district, its walls lined with legal victories that had cost unfaithful spouses millions. "Tell me everything," Catherine said, settling behind her mahogany desk with a legal pad and the focused intensity of a surgeon preparing for a complex operation. Nina opened her laptop and began the presentation she'd spent 2 sleepless nights preparing. Marcus Chen, CEO of Novatech Solutions. Net worth approximately $47 million. Married to my sister Victoria for 5 years. Currently in the Maldives with his personal trainer, while his wife gave birth to their son. She clicked through screenshots methodically. Marcus's credit card statement showing charges at luxury resorts. Sophia Blake's Instagram posts geotagged from the same locations. Flight records, hotel reservations made under both their names. "This is impressive documentation," Catherine murmured, making notes. "But I need more than infidelity to freeze assets and secure maximum compensation. California is a no-fault state. That's where Detective James Morrison comes in." Nina pulled out a business card. It's an old source of mine from the Chronicle. "He owes me favors, and he's very good at finding financial irregularities." Catherine raised an eyebrow. "What kind of irregularities?" "The kind that explain how a CEO affords month-long trips to luxury resorts when his company's quarterly reports show declining profits. Marcus has been living far beyond even his considerable means." Detective Morrison met them that afternoon at a coffee shop in the Mission District. A weathered man in his 50s with tired eyes and calloused hands, he looked like someone who'd seen enough betrayal to last several lifetimes. "Corporate embezzlement cases are tricky," he warned, stirring sugar into his black coffee. "But if your brother-in-law is skimming from company funds to finance his affairs, there'll be a paper trail. There always is." Nina slid a flash drive across the table. "I've compiled everything I could access legally through Victoria's joint accounts. Bank statements, credit reports, investment portfolios. The spending patterns are..." "Interesting." Morrison pocketed the drive. "Give me 72 hours. If he's dirty, I'll find it." While Morrison worked his investigation, Nina launched her own digital warfare campaign. She created anonymous social media accounts and began following Sophia Blake's friends, Marques's business associates, and Novatech employees. Her journalist instincts, honed by years of tracking down corruption stories, proved invaluable in the corporate world. She discovered that Marcus had been telling his business partners he was in Tokyo, securing Japanese investment deals, simultaneously posting romantic sunset photos that Sophia had tagged from the Maldives. The timeline discrepancies were glaring to anyone who bothered to look. "Most people don't bother to look," Nina muttered to herself, screenshotting everything. "That's how men like Marcus get away with this for so long." On the second day of her investigation, Nina struck gold. One of Sophia's friends had posted a group photo from what appeared to be a company retreat 6 months earlier. In the background, Marcus's hand was clearly visible, resting possessively on Sophia's lower back. Their body language, intimate and familiar. The photo was dated 3 months before Victoria announced her pregnancy that evening. Nina sat in Victoria's hospital room, watching her sister nurse Benjamin with a mixture of exhaustion and fierce protectiveness. Victoria had barely spoken about Marcus since the birth, channeling all her energy into learning to care for their son. "I've been thinking," Victoria said quietly, not looking up from Benjamin's face. Maybe I should just file for a simple divorce, take what I can get, and focus on raising him. Absolutely not. Nina's voice carried the steel that had made her one of the Chronicle's most feared investigative reporters. Victoria, he didn't just cheat on you. He's been stealing from his own company to fund his affairs. Detective Morrison found 3 separate offshore accounts, all opened in the last 2 years. Victoria's head snapped up. What? Marcus has embezzled over $2 million from Novatech to pay for luxury trips. Jewelry for his mistresses, plural, by the way, and a secret apartment in Napa Valley? Sophia isn't his first affair. She's just the current one. The color drained from Victoria's face. How many others? Morrison found evidence of at least 4 different women over the past 3 years. Hotel receipts, jewelry purchases, vacation rentals. He's been systematically betraying you while stealing from investors who trusted him. Victoria was quiet for a long moment, her hand trembling slightly as she adjusted Benjamin's blanket. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady and cold. What do we do? Nina smiled for the first time in days. We destroy him. Legally, financially, and professionally. Catherine is filing for divorce tomorrow, along with emergency motions to freeze all marital assets and a restraining order. Morrison is forwarding his findings to the SEC and the FBI's white-collar crime division. And I'm writing the story that will run on the Chronicle's front page the day after he lands. Won't this hurt me too? The scandal? You're the victim, Victoria? You're the pregnant wife who was betrayed while her husband stole money to fund his affairs? Public opinion will be entirely on your side. Nina leaned forward intensely. More importantly, Benjamin will grow up knowing his mother didn't let his father's crimes go unpunished. He'll learn that actions have consequences, that integrity matters, and that his mother is strong enough to fight for what's right. Victoria looked down at her sleeping son, then back at her sister. Do it. All of it. Nina nodded grimly. Marcus Chen has 48 hours left of thinking he's gotten away with everything, then his world ends. Outside the hospital window, the lights of San Francisco twinkled like stars. Somewhere in the Maldives, Marcus was probably planning another romantic dinner. Completely unaware that his sister-in-law was preparing to serve him justice for dessert, the homecoming Marcus Chen stepped off his private jet at San Francisco International Airport with the relaxed swagger of a man who believed he had successfully deceived everyone who mattered. His skin was bronze from 6 days of Maldivian sunshine. His designer clothes hung perfectly on his frame, and his phone buzzed with what he assumed were congratulatory messages about the successful Tokyo negotiations he'd fabricated. He hadn't bothered to check his voicemails during the flight. After all, Victoria was predictably understanding about his extended business trip, and his assistant back home could handle any minor crises. The only communication he'd received that gave him pause was a cryptic text from his business partner, David. We need to talk immediately. Don't go home first. Marcus dismissed it with characteristic arrogance. David always overreacted to minor setbacks. The Uber ride to his penthouse gave Marcus time to construct the narrative he'd perfected. During the flight, he would tell Victoria that the Tokyo investors had required extensive cultural relationship building, which explained the extended timeline. He'd brought her expensive pearls from Tokyo's finest jewelry district, actually purchased during a shopping excursion with Sophia in mail. The lies came so easily now that he almost believed them himself. What Marcus didn't know was that Nina Rodriguez sat in an unmarked sedan across from his building, speaking quietly into her phone with Detective Morrison. Target's arriving now. Catherine's inside with the papers. Sheriff's deputy is stationed. In the lobby, Victoria had returned home from the hospital that morning, and the penthouse had been transformed into a war room. Catherine Wu sat at the dining table with legal documents spread before her, like battle plans. Deputy Rachel Torres, a no-nonsense woman with kind eyes and an intimidating presence, waited near the elevator. And Victoria sat in the living room, holding Benjamin, her face calm with the terrible serenity of someone who had already grieved and moved beyond anger into cold determination. Marcus's key turned in the lock at 4:17 p.m. He entered, calling out cheerfully, "Victoria? Honey, I'm home." Wait until you hear about the incredible deal I just closed." The silence that greeted him should have been his first warning. The second should have been the sight of his wife sitting motionless in the living room, not rushing to greet him as she usually did. The third was the presence of two women he didn't recognize standing near his expensive art collection. Victoria? Marcus approached cautiously, his salesman's instincts finally registering that something was wrong. "How are you feeling, sweetheart? You look ... different." "I gave birth 6 days ago," Victoria said quietly, her voice devoid of emotion. "To your son, Benjamin Rodriguez Chen." Marcus's face went through a series of rapid calculations, surprise, confusion, then the practiced concern of a man who'd learned to fake appropriate reactions. "What? But you weren't due for another month? Why didn't you call me? I would have come home immediately, would you?" Victoria shifted Benjamin in her arms, the baby sleeping peacefully despite the tension crackling through the room. "From Tokyo?" "Of course. The meetings weren't more important than Mr. Chen," Catherine Wu interrupted, stepping forward with legal documents in hand. "I'm Catherine Wu, your wife's attorney. You're being served with divorce papers, a restraining order, and a motion for emergency asset freezing." Marcus stared at the papers as if they were written in a foreign language. "What is this, Victoria? What's going on? Is this about me missing the birth?" "I can explain. Tokyo was beautiful this time of year, wasn't it?" Victoria's voice cut through his protests like a blade. "Oh wait, I'm sorry. I meant the Maldives. The Four Seasons Maldives, to be specific." "With Sophia Blake?" The color drained from Marcus's face so quickly that Deputy Torres instinctively stepped closer. Recognizing the look of a man whose world was collapsing in real time. "I don't know what you think you know," but Victoria held up her phone, showing Sophia's Instagram feed. "She documented your entire romantic getaway. Sunset dinners, couples massages, champagne in your villa. While I labored alone to bring your son into the world, you were toasting your mistress under tropical stars." Marcus's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. His politician's training failed him completely as he grappled with the realization that his carefully constructed lies had crumbled. "But that's not even the best part," Victoria continued with deadly calm. "Tell him about the money, Catherine." Catherine consulted her notes with professional satisfaction. "Mr. Chen, you're also being investigated by the SEC and FBI for embezzlement. Over $2 million skimmed from Novatech Solutions to fund your extramarital activities. Offshore accounts, the secret apartment in Napa, the jewelry purchases. For multiple mistresses, we have records of everything." Marcus stumbled backward, his hand finding the wall for support. "You can't prove any of that. You're just angry about you stealing from your own company, about you betraying investors who trusted you, about you having affairs with, at least for different women, while your wife was pregnant." Victoria stood up slowly, holding Benjamin protectively. "Or are you referring to the fact that you abandoned your family during the most important moment of our lives?" Deputy Torres stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, I'm serving you with a restraining order. You have 30 minutes to pack essential items and leave the premises. You're prohibited from contacting your wife, except through her attorney, and you cannot access any joint financial accounts pending the investigation." Marcus looked around desperately, as if seeking an escape route from his own actions. "Victoria, please. We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we have a son now. We're a family." Victoria's laugh was hollow and bitter. "We were never a family to you, Marcus. You were just convenient props in the life you wanted everyone to think you were living." She looked down at Benjamin, her voice softening. "But he'll have a real family. People who show up when they're needed, who tell the truth, who understand that love is about sacrifice, not just convenience."
"Oh, nature."
Nina entered through the front door at that moment, having watched the confrontation through the building's security cameras. 28 minutes left, Marcus. I'd suggest you pack quickly. The Chronicle runs the story tomorrow morning, and you'll want to be far from here when it hits the newsstands." As Marcus walked toward their bedroom like a condemned man, Victoria felt an unexpected surge of peace. Benjamin stirred in her arms, opening his eyes to look up at her with the pure trust that only babies possess. "It's okay, sweetheart," she whispered to her son. "The bad dream is over. Now, we get to build something real." Outside, The San Francisco fog was rolling in from the bay, but inside the penthouse, the air had never been clearer. Justice served 1 year later. Victoria Chen stood in the marble hallway outside courtroom 12 of the San Francisco Superior Court, adjusting the collar of her navy blue power suit. Benjamin, now a vibrant 1-year-old with his mother's determined eyes and his father's stubborn chin, babbled happily in her arms, completely oblivious to the significance of this final hearing. Nina stood beside them, professional in her role as both sister and the journalist who had broken the story that destroyed Marcus Chen's empire. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Hamilton, the bailiff announced as they entered the courtroom for the last time. Judge Hamilton, silver-haired woman known for her sharp intellect and intolerance for financial crimes, took her seat behind the bench. Her expression was stern as she reviewed the thick file that represented a year of legal proceedings, criminal investigations, and personal devastation. Marcus sat at the defendant's table, barely recognizable as the confident CEO who had once graced magazine covers. His expensive suits had been replaced by an ill-fitting gray outfit provided by the county jail. The bronze tan from his Maldivian affair had long since faded, leaving him pale and hollow-eyed. His attorney, a court-appointed public defender, looked resigned to the inevitable outcome. In the matter of the state of California versus Marcus Chen, and in the related civil proceedings, Chen versus Chen, Judge Hamilton began, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. This court is prepared to render final judgment. Victoria felt her heart racing, not from fear, but from the anticipation of closure. The past year had been a whirlwind of depositions, investigations, and media attention. The Chronicles expose had triggered a cascade of revelations that brought down not just Marcus, but several other executives at Novatech who had enabled his embezzlement scheme. Mr. Chen, Judge Hamilton addressed the defendant directly. Have been found guilty on 14 counts of embezzlement, wire fraud, and securities violations. The evidence presented by the prosecution, including financial records meticulously documented by Detective Morrison and corroborated by federal investigators, paints a clear picture of systematic theft from your own company and its investors. Marcus's shoulders sagged further with each word. Sophia Blake had testified against him as part of her plea agreement, revealing the extent of his financial crimes and admitting she had known the money funding their luxury lifestyle was stolen. The other women he had involved in his affairs had come forward as well, creating a devastating pattern of deception and betrayal. The court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You are ordered to pay full restitution of $2.3 million to Novatech Solutions and its defrauded investors, plus additional penalties and interest totaling $1.7 million. Benjamin chose that moment to clap his hands together, the innocent sound echoing in the silent courtroom. Victoria couldn't help but smile at the timing. Judge Hamilton turned her attention to the civil proceedings. In the matter of the divorce settlement, this court awards full custody of the minor child Benjamin Rodriguez Chen to his mother, Victoria Chen. Mr. Chen's parental rights are terminated due to his criminal conduct and abandonment of his family. During the child's birth, Victoria felt Nina squeeze her hand as years of pain and uncertainty finally crystallized into justice. Furthermore, the judge continued, the court awards Mrs. Chen the entirety of the marital estate, including the penthouse residence, all investment accounts, and 75% of Mr. Chen's business interests in Novatech Solutions. The remaining assets will be liquidated to pay restitution to his victims. Marcus's attorney whispered something to him, but Marcus just stared straight ahead, finally understanding that his actions had consequences beyond anything he had imagined. Judge Hamilton's voice softened slightly as she addressed Victoria directly. Mrs. Chen, this court recognizes the extraordinary circumstances under which you gave birth to your son and the strength you've shown throughout these proceedings. Your child will grow up knowing his mother fought for justice, not just for herself, but for all victims of financial fraud. As the bailiff led Marcus away in handcuffs, Victoria felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. The man she had once loved was gone, destroyed by his own choices, but in his place had emerged something better. A life built on truth, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about her and Benjamin. Outside the courthouse, Catherine Wu shook Victoria's hand with genuine warmth. "You've set a precedent," she said. "This case will be studied in law schools for years. You turned personal betrayal into a victory for justice." Nina had already returned to her role at the Chronicle, but she took the afternoon off to celebrate with her sister. They walked through Golden Gate Park, Benjamin toddling between them on unsteady legs, chasing butterflies with the fearless joy that only children possess. "Do you ever regret it?" Nina asked, as they sat on a bench watching Benjamin explore the grass, taking him down so completely. Victoria considered the question seriously. "I regret that Benjamin will grow up without a father, but I don't regret showing him that actions have consequences. That stealing and betrayal aren't acceptable just because you're wealthy and charming." She watched her son discover a dandelion with wonder-filled eyes. He'll learn about integrity from the people who stayed, not the one who left. 6 months earlier, Victoria had used part of her settlement to establish the Benjamin Foundation, a non-profit organization that provided legal aid to families dealing with financial fraud. Her personal experience had taught her that justice shouldn't depend on having the resources to hire the best attorneys or the connections to uncover hidden assets. That evening, in the penthouse that was now truly hers, Victoria tucked Benjamin into his crib and looked out at the San Francisco skyline. The lights twinkled like promises of tomorrow, each one representing someone working toward their dreams with honesty and determination. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Amanda Foster. "Saw the news coverage. So proud of you. Benjamin is lucky to have such a strong mother." Victoria smiled, setting the phone aside. She had learned that strength wasn't about enduring betrayal in silence. It was about standing up and fighting back when someone tried to make you complicit in their lies. Benjamin would grow up in a world where truth mattered, where trust was earned, and where justice was possible for those brave enough to demand it. In his crib, Benjamin slept peacefully, dreaming whatever dreams one-year-olds have. His future stretched before him, bright with possibility, and protected by a mother who had proven that even the most powerful men couldn't escape the consequences of their choices. Justice, Victoria had learned, didn't always arrive quickly. But when it came, it was worth the wait.